This is Ken Pyle with VOD TV. We're at the Parks Associates 2010 Connections Conference with Joe Ambeault, a longtime friend of VOD View. He spoke on a panel many, many years ago, and since then you've been heavily involved in some project called FiOS, whatever that's about.
But small network build out.
There you go. So one of the things that I found really intriguing is you've been working on user experience, and you guys are so far advanced that a comment you made was that using the Wi-Fi to control the TV is so 2009. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys, the kind of the approach you're taking to the user interface and creating the best one for the consumer.
So probably there's been some very big cultural shifts for us in how we develop products and how we look at bringing products to market. And probably the very biggest change is we've gone from a notion of you have to commercialize 100% of what you start off in to more of a notion of not everything necessarily has to make it to market. Okay. So when you just take that release valve off, you end up with a lot more opportunity to innovate because now you're not so worried about being very conservative necessarily in every one of your projects, and it gives you an opportunity to explore. One of the other things we changed is we went from what's sort of commonly called waterfall development. So you do your requirements, and then you present those to the engineers, and then the engineers do their design, and have gone to an iterative or spiral development approach. And so a lot of times our requirements start on the whiteboard, and the coding begins while the requirements are still being drafted, and we're doing lots of very short iterations, and we actually bring the customers in at about alpha. And not into a lab, we do that of course because it's kind of obligatory, but we bring it into their homes. And what's so very exciting about the FiOS TV platform is we can actually deliver alpha and beta code directly to target set-tops. So my CMO is getting alpha and beta code on all of his TVs, not making his significant other very happy. And so what we started doing is we'll just put it on the TV in your den. You can play with it, and being able to do those same kind of things with our customers. We've got more than 9,000 customers participating in what we call Test Track. Okay. And they volunteer to let us put early software and provide feedback electronically. And probably one of the other biggest changes is the layers between the people actually executing and the customers using it have been evaporated by electronic tools. And so an engineer can feel directly the pain that they've caused a customer as opposed to having to take my word for it or some focus group moderator. And boy, do bugs get fixed very quickly when an engineer hears directly from their end user. I
can imagine. One of the things, I don't know, maybe you said this in jest, but actually going to the customers with pizza in hand and watching TV with them.
It's a lot of fun really just to get out there and have a dialogue and just some of the things you just wouldn't even contemplate sort of sitting in an office and, in a very corporate environment and just getting out and seeing how people are using things, because even in a lot of cases in those focus groups, the sort of self-reporting are not as accurate as you'd want it to be because people are reporting sort of what they want you to think about them as opposed to what they're really doing. And so when you get to a more relaxed environment and they're actually using it in their everyday lives outside of the lab, you end up with a much more useful feedback and much faster iterations. So we also had to set ourselves up to respond to those iterations. And that's what gets the customers engaged in sometimes what can be painful, because if it's new code, but kept them engaged because they see us responding to their suggestions, implementing them, and not implementing them in 2 years, implementing them in a few weeks. And so a lot of our processes happen in about 8 to 10 weeks maximum. And these iterative cycles, 8 to 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, and all of a sudden you wake up and you go, wow, we covered a lot of ground, because you're just sort of not, it's okay to not have it perfect. And it's okay for you not to have to be proud of it initially, and it's okay maybe if you fail. And that's sort of the way you get through those inventions, right? One inventor, Edison failed 1,000 times, right? 1,000,000 times. And so bringing that into the culture has just been excellent, and doing it with the customers, because some of their ideas you're like, oh, yeah, so obvious. Got it. I can't even believe I missed that. Thank you. That will be in the code tomorrow.
Do you have to compensate them any differently, or are they just excited to be part of the program?
They're just excited to be part of the program. So there's no compensation provided. I think primarily it picked up steam when we were able to shorten our iteration cycles and customers could see their feedback showing up on the TV screen. And I could just imagine some of our beta participants going, see that feature? Yeah, that feature, that was my idea.
Yeah, people like to be listened to, right?
Yes. And so, even on the FiOS TV Twitter board, it's not a broadcast medium, right? It's not come and buy this stuff from us. It's a dialogue I have directly with a few thousand customers, and it's a regular dialogue. Hey, I just saw the new GUIs and I don't really like the color. Okay, what color do you think would look better? Well, that's a problem on NTSC. And having that dialogue has really also, in my opinion, improved our customer loyalty, because those are the people who also go out and some of our best salespeople, right, and go out and get all of their friends to sign up. And I've heard great stories about some of our customers doing 10, 20, 30 sales on our behalf. And so it's also got got these other really great effects. But the pizza at the customer's house for me is a dose of reality. Are we taking care of you? Is anybody falling between the cracks? And when you have a big company and a big service, it's important to sort of look at those each and every individual customer, because that person may be an example of what many more folks are going through that's just not readily obvious back at headquarters.
Well, and do you also see that one size doesn't necessarily fit all, and as far as how you're designing this product?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'd be the first to admit that we have some more work to do for boomers and getting them more comfortable. And boomers, of course, is a very big segment. The further you get to the older portion of that segment, the more work we have to do there. And getting them engaged in some kind of beta program is not quite the same as getting a 30 or 40-something or a 20-something engaged. And so, yeah, we have more work to do across the segments, absolutely.
And one last comment or question, really a comment that was made, I think you made it, about the importance of context. And I can imagine that plays right into the whole user interface experience.
There's no better way to sell more stuff, because ultimately that's what we're here to do, than present it at a point that the person is most receptive. So storefronts are useful electronically, but nothing is better than it's Sunday and football is on, and you just saw the commercial about football coming up, and now let me see if I can pull you through, or something happening in pop culture and bringing that into the experience. It just drives amazing volumes.
Yeah, and that really is, I suppose, a big shift in companies' thinking as far as thinking about what's popular now as opposed to a 30-year time horizon.
Yeah, I'm not usually very popular with our finance folks because I refuse to give them more than 2 or 3 years worth of a view, because my response was, if I could give you 10 years, I'd probably be a millionaire entrepreneur. Right. So here's your 2 or 3 year view.
Excellent. Well, Joe, I appreciate your 2 or 3 year view here today. Thanks.
Have a great show.
Thank you too.